Welcome back to Forgotten Folios, where every page reveals a hidden truth about the universe and ourselves. In this series, we explore The Conscious Universe, a book that challenges everything we think we know about reality, science, and the human mind. Is the universe truly conscious? Can our thoughts shape the world around us? And what happens when science dares to study the impossible? Join me as we unfold the mysteries, chapter by chapter, diving deep into one of the most thought-provoking books ever written. This is The Conscious Universe. Introduction. The psyche's attachment to the brain, example its spacetime limitation, is no longer as self-evident and incontrovertible as we have hitherto been led to believe. It is not only permissible to doubt the absolute validity of spacetime perception, it is, in view of the available facts, even imperative to do so. Carl Jung, Psychology and the Occult. In science, the acceptance of new ideas follows a predictable, four-stage sequence. In stage 1, skeptics confidently proclaim that the idea is impossible because it violates the laws of science. This stage can last for years or for centuries, depending on how much the idea challenges conventional wisdom. In stage 2, skeptics reluctantly concede that the idea is possible but that it is not very interesting and the claimed effects are extremely weak. Stage 3 begins when the mainstream realizes not only that the idea is important but that its effects are much stronger and more pervasive than previously imagined. Stage 4 is achieved when the same critics who previously disavowed any interest in the idea begin to proclaim that they thought of it first. Eventually, no one remembers that the idea was once considered a dangerous heresy. The idea discussed in this book is in the midst of the most important and the most difficult of the four transitions from stage 1 into stage 2. While the idea itself is ancient, it has taken more than a century to demonstrate it conclusively in accordance with rigorous, scientific standards. This demonstration has accelerated stage 2 acceptance, and stage 3 can already be glimpsed on the horizon. The idea. The idea is that those compelling, perplexing, and sometimes profound human experiences known as psychic phenomena are real. This will come as no surprise to most of the world's population, because the majority already believes in psychic phenomena. But over the past few years, something new has propelled us beyond old debates over personal beliefs. The reality of psychic phenomena is now no longer based solely upon faith, or wishful thinking, or absorbing anecdotes. It is not even based upon the results of a few scientific experiments. Instead, we know that these phenomena exist, because of new ways of evaluating massive amounts of scientific evidence collected over a century by scores of researchers. Psychic, or psi, phenomena fall into two general categories. The first involves perceiving objects or events beyond the range of the ordinary senses. The second is mentally causing action at a distance. In both categories, it seems that intention, the mind's will, can do things that according to prevailing scientific theories it isn't supposed to be able to do. We wish to know what is happening to loved ones, and somehow, sometimes, that information is available even over large distances. We wish to speed the recovery of a loved one's illness, and somehow that person gets better quicker, even at a distance. Mind willing, many interesting things appear to be possible. Understanding such experiences requires an expanded view of human consciousness. Is the mind merely a mechanistic, information-processing bundle of neurons? Is it a computer made of meat, as some cognitive scientists and neuroscientists believe, or is it something more? The evidence suggests that while many aspects of mental functioning are undoubtedly related to brain structure and electrochemical activity, there is also something else happening, something very interesting. This is for real. In discussions of the reality of psychic phenomena, especially from the scientific perspective, one question always hovers in the background: you mean this is for real? In the midst of all the nonsense and excessive silliness proclaimed in the name of psychic phenomena, the misinformed use of the term parapsychology by self-proclaimed paranormal investigators, the perennial laughingstock of magicians and conjurers, this is for real? The short answer is, yes. A more elaborate answer is, psychic has been shown to exist in thousands of experiments. There are disagreements over how to interpret the evidence, but the fact is that virtually all scientists who have studied the evidence, including the hard-nosed skeptics, now agree that something interesting is going on that merits serious scientific attention. Later we'll discuss why very few scientists and science journalists are aware of this dramatic shift in informed opinion. Shifting opinions. The most important indication of a shift from stage 1 to stage 2 can be seen in the gradually changing attitudes of prominent skeptics. In a 1995 book saturated with piercing skepticism, the late Carl Sagan of Cornell University maintained his lifelong mission of educating the public about science, in this case by debunking popular hysteria over alien abductions, channelers, faith healers, the face on Mars, and practically everything else found in the New Age section of most bookstores. Then, in one paragraph among 450 pages, we find an astonishing admission. At the time of writing, there are 3 claims in the ESP field which, in my opinion, deserve serious study. 1. That by thought alone humans can barely affect random number generators in computers, that people under mild sensory deprivation can receive thoughts or images projected at them, and that young children sometimes report the details of a previous life, which upon checking turn out to be accurate and which they could not have known about in any other way than reincarnation. Other signs of shifting opinions are cropping up with increasing frequency in the scientific literature. Starting in the 1980s, well-known scientific journals like Foundation of Physics, American Psychologist, and Statistical Science published articles favorably reviewing the scientific evidence for psychic phenomena. The Proceedings of the IEEE, the flagship journal of the Institute for Electronic and Electrical Engineers, has published major debates on psi research. Invited articles have appeared in the prestigious journal Behavioral and Brain Sciences. A favorable article on telepathy research appeared in 1994 in Psychological Bulletin, one of the top-ranked journals in academic psychology. And an article presenting a theoretical model for precognition appeared in 1994 in Physical Review, a prominent physics journal. In the 1990s alone, seminars on psi research were part of the regular programs at the annual conferences of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, the American Psychological Association, and the American Statistical Association. Invited lectures on the status of psychic research were presented for diplomats at the United Nations, for academics at Harvard University, and for scientists at Bell Laboratories. The Pentagon has not overlooked these activities. From 1981 to 1995, 5 different U.S. government-sponsored scientific review committees were given the task of examining the evidence for psi effects. The reviews were prompted by concerns that if psychic was genuine, it might be important for national security reasons. We would have to assume that foreign governments would exploit psychic if they could. Reports were prepared by the Congressional Research Service, the Army Research Institute, the National Research Council, the Office of Technology Assessment, and the American Institutes for Research, the latter commissioned by the Central Intelligence Agency. While disagreeing over fine points of interpretation, all 5 reviews concluded that the experimental evidence for certain forms of psychic phenomena merited serious scientific study. For example, in 1981 the Congressional Research Service concluded that recent experiments in remote viewing and other studies in parapsychology suggest that there exists an interconnectiveness of the human mind with other minds and with matter. This interconnectiveness would appear to be functional in nature and amplified by intent and emotion. The report concluded with suggestions of possible applications for healthcare, investigative work, and the ability of the human mind to obtain information as an important factor in successful decision-making by executives. In 1985, a report prepared for the Army Research Institute concluded that the bottom line is that the data reviewed in this report constitute genuine scientific anomalies for which no one has an adequate explanation or set of explanations. If they are what they appear to be, their theoretical and, eventually, their practical implications are enormous. In 1987, the National Research Council reviewed parapsychology, the scientific discipline that studies psychic, at the request of the U.S. Army. The committee recommended that the Army monitor parapsychological research being conducted in the former Soviet Union and in the United States, suggested that the Army consider funding specific experiments, and most significantly, admitted that it could not propose plausible alternatives to the psi hypothesis for some classes of psychic experiments. Dr. Ray Hyman, a psychology professor at the University of Oregon and a longtime skeptic of psychic phenomena, was chairman of the National Research Council's Review Committee on Parapsychology. He stated in a 1988 interview with the Chronicle of Higher Education that parapsychologists should be rejoicing. This was the first government committee that said their work should be taken seriously.